If you're watching this, I'm dead. This is a code black. This message was automatically triggered when I destroyed the cave and everything it contained. We both know it won't take long for Gotham's criminals to realize the Batman is gone. And you can't count on the GCPD. Haven't trusted us since Jim died. Gotham will need its protectors more than ever. I'm leaving you the Belfry as base of operations. Some of the technology is outdated, but it has the gear you need and all of my files. You've always had my back when I needed you. I know you'll keep Gotham safe. Good luck. And goodbye.
When you start Gotham Knights, Batman dies. You play as one of 4 proteges of Batman: Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake Robin, or Batgirl. You're not ready to take on the responsibilities of Batman on your own, but Bruce trusts you to do what's right and is giving you the support of Alfred and all the equipment you'll need to get started. So you suit up, take a deep breath, and walk out into the Gotham night. This is how the 2022 Bat Family video game Gotham Knights from Warner Montreal begins. You've helped Batman before, sure, but you've never had to handle any of Batman's duties on your own. You're unsure of yourself. Where does your journey to live up to Batman's legacy begin? Investigating Bruce's killer would be a good start. You use the vast resources of Batman's equipment to start to find and follow some clues. But remember, Batman didn't ask you to find his killer with his dying message. He asked you to keep Gotham safe. So as you travel the city, you see gangs getting brazen, attacking citizens right out in the open. You drop in and put a stop to it. Now you're feeling more like the Batman. This is what he did. World's greatest detective. And you're not there yet, but with every crime you stop and investigation you close, you're getting closer and closer to becoming the hero and symbol that Batman represented. Sounds pretty good, right? That's what I thought when I started playing a few weeks ago at least. It's been 4 months since Gotham Knights was released, and in that time, most of the reviews and sentiment for the game has been negative, that the game is bad and doesn't live up to the legacy of the groundbreaking Arkham trilogy that preceded it. But why is what I've experienced of the game, having played it for myself, and the wave of negativity around the game's release so far apart? Is this game really a step back? When Arkham Asylum released in 2009, it was a revelation. There have been Batman games as long as there have been video games, period. But what Rocksteady had built with Arkham Asylum was very different. It was the first time that a video game aimed to actually make the player feel like Batman, a regular man, not a superhero, who uses his preparation and intellect to outsmart his opponents before resorting to using his fists. You use X-ray vision from your helmet to look for important clues. Use gadgets and smoke to confuse and terrify enemies, allowing you to take on many more than should be possible for one man alone. And when the time comes to fight hand to hand, use the counter button. With this new mechanic, the developers were able to place you, as Batman, into a seemingly insurmountable situation, hopelessly outnumbered and allow you the ability to attack, counterattack, and knock out enemies in any direction with a simple, fluid control scheme. It was and still is brilliant, a gameplay mechanic that has now become used in all action games like this. Combined with a great story told in a great location, this game was a huge success. 2 years later in 2011, Rocksteady raised the bar and released Arkham City, a game that aimed to do better than the original in every way. The story was grander in scale, took over a part of the city of Gotham, making it semi-open world, and gave Batman more gadgets to use to pummel more supervillains, and even more ways to use the counter button to take on even more nameless enemies at once. The gaming masses loved it, even more than the first, but I wasn't one of them. The investigative aspect of the first game may have come to be seen in the time since as a crutch, or perhaps it slowed down the game's pace too much for some, so its use was de-emphasized a bit. Batman's relaxed and friendly nature with the Gotham City Police Department was more than a little strange, even since the first game. Plus, after featuring the Joker, the most overused of all Batman villains, as Arkham Asylum's big bad, he's still here in Arkham City in a main role. But still, good fun, right? After taking much more of a break to develop the trilogy's conclusion, the hugely anticipated Arkham Knight, Rocksteady finally releases the new game in 2015. Gotham City is evacuated after a Scarecrow bioweapon threat, leaving Batman and a small part of the still strangely reverent GCPD to take back a mostly empty Gotham City that is filled with drone tanks and supervillains. Batman himself has never looked better in a video game. Gotham City is gorgeous, and the use of the counter button has never been more refined, but the cracks in this formula were starting to show. You have never felt less like Batman than you do in this entry to the series. You spend a large part of the opening blasting tanks from your own tank transformation of the Batmobile. It's come a long way from scanning corridors for clues in Arkham Asylum. The game was a success, but in a more subdued way than the adoration the gaming masses showed for Arkham City. In my opinion, you weren't really playing as Batman anymore, and instead you were a more generic video game action hero. The focus has shifted from making you feel like the world's greatest detective, to making you feel the thrill of blowing shit up, and keeping up the adrenaline by keeping the action moving from set piece to set piece. The Arkham trilogy had lost its luster, and the creators at Rocksteady were ready to move on. So by 2022, it was long since time to return to Batman's world, the world so many gamers remembered from the Arkham series. Rocksteady was continuing the story they had created for the Arkham trilogy in a completely new way with the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So Warner Montreal stepped up to continue the Arkham series in spirit with the development and release of Gotham Knights, a game that aimed to combine the familiar elements of the Arkham series that people already love with new faces in the previously criminally underused Bat family and the video game debut of the sinister Court of Owls. And this is where the negative reviews start to pour in.
The game soon descends into hours of completing 40 forgettable side missions that slightly change the context of each crime, but never really the actions you perform to stop them.
Yeah, unfortunately, it only gets more tedious as you go. Combat, for me, personally, just isn't fun.
Gotham Knights is a consistently disappointing return to Batman's troubled city, and a distinct step backwards from the past decade plus of Batman games. Even if running around Gotham in two-player co-op can be decent fun, and each of the 4 playable crime fighters are well executed in their dialogue and distinct moves, too many of the fundamentals fall short for me to recommend it.
That is not what I experienced taking my first leap from the Belfry. The open world of Gotham Knights is not filled with supervillains. The powerful threats such as Mr. Freeze and Clayface are few and far between, and you're not ready to face them anyway. Batman and the Bat family are not supermen and women. They don't have any powers at all. They are acrobats and orphans and computer nerds with martial arts training and military equipment. They work best, in my opinion, when they deal with the small scale. And as your journey begins here, the small scale is where you start to hone your detective skills with ground level casework and your fighting skills through taking down pockets of gang activity and securing equipment upgrades from your allies, such as Lucius Fox. So I understand that if you were looking for an open world where around every corner there was a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery, making the campaign a non-stop string of explosions and pulse-pounding action set pieces, I could see how you would be disappointed. But if you are open to meeting the citizens of Gotham, literally at their level, ground level, investigating the crimes that the gangs and the factions are committing, then the open world suddenly becomes not missing something, but excelling at a facet of Batman's mythos that isn't covered by any other media other than comic books. Gotham City is the people. The teacher who takes night security jobs to pay for supplies for his students. The barman who keeps his ears open while criminals look past him on his wheelchair. The grandmother who keeps the streets safe by risking her life to be a neighborhood watch for Batman and wants to know if she can trust you as well. It should be applauded that Warner Montreal chose to keep the city populated instead of evacuating it as in Arkham Knight. You get to see what the heroes are out to protect with your own eyes. Also, the Bat family is not friendly with the GCPD. The police are corrupt, on gangsters' payrolls, and they know that the Bat family knows it. There's a tense unease between you and the GCPD, as there always is in the comics. Also, lots of appreciation for not going with the obvious. There's no Joker, Riddler, Scarecrow, or Two-Face here, who have all been done to death in the movies and games already. It seems to me that the developers looked at the Batman mythos and built what makes sense, what works for these characters in particular. Because when you don't do that and you're just making a video game that happens to star these characters, but not what makes the characters loved in the first place, you get...
the game has had horrific response in regards to the more they've shown it off, like the most recent state of play. Everybody kind of hated that. That reminded me of like one of those Telltale popped up in the corner or like a Fallout thing of like everyone disliked that.
On top of that, you can play all of this in co-op. This won't matter to every gamer, but for one such as myself, it makes all the difference that you can bring someone along to help you keep the streets safe. Through spoken dialogue and shared moments during rare downtime in the Belfry, you get to know the personalities and relationships between all these characters, and it's always beautifully done. As an added bonus, the game includes one of the most accurate portrayals of Alfred that I've seen in any media, an Alfred that is a great active listener and empowers the young heroes to figure out the solutions on their own and helping them grow both in the costume and out. I won't go too far into the game's story, but through your street level investigations and patrols each night, you gain allies and trust among the people of Gotham. You build a relationship with the honest police of the GCPD that is earned. You uncover large plots that could destroy Gotham and gain enough power and skill to take them down. And you unearth a centuries-old conspiracy and shadowy organization that has been pulling the strings in Gotham for centuries. The game doesn't rush you into these plot points before you're ready. You choose when you're ready, and you can take it as slow or as quickly as you wish. Your hero can build an arsenal of gear and skills that will allow you to stand a chance against the numerous powerful enemies you will face, but what matters most is your own skill. The skills you have honed since Batman first died and you took your first unsure steps into the Gotham Knight to keep its citizens safe. When you decide to take on the superpowers behind it all, you will be more than ready. I think those reviewing this game during its release window missed a lot of this. Yes, I played this game after 4 months of patches seemingly smoothed out a rough gameplay experience. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that in order to get the review out on time, reviewers had to get through as much of the game as they could. After all, getting the review out on time is how they make a living, and I can't be mad at that. What I'm talking about is giving the gameplay elements the attention that they deserve, that reflect the obvious attention and care that went into creating them. Because some of those reviews refer to the building of relationships and protecting of citizens in Gotham that happens between supervillain missions as annoying busy work. That street level work is what makes this Batman. It's what gives this game the stakes of Arkham Asylum and not the explosions of Arkham Knight. In the goal of getting to the end of the game on a deadline, they seem to have missed the journey of building a protege of Batman into a capable crime fighter all their own who can be trusted to keep the citizens safe. And while the reviewer may not have appreciated it, maybe someone was looking for a more grounded experience would actually find that sort of thing to be just what they were looking for. When we started playing Gotham Knights, Fox didn't like it much. She set the game to the easiest difficulty, assuming that the game would be too hard as action games normally aren't her thing. And she rushed into every encounter, mashing attack with no planning or staking out the enemies first. I could tell she wasn't having much fun, she was just getting it over with. I asked her about it, and she said this is how she played Arkham City, so that's how she felt she needed to play this one. She wasn't having anything close to the experience I was. I thought about this for a minute and I asked her, so you're enjoying playing Breath of the Wild right now, right? She was in the midst of a first playthrough and was having a great time. I asked her, when you come to a group of enemies in that game, what do you do? She said she takes her time and plans out the best way to approach and has fun exploring the area between fights. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But that also explains why you're not having as much fun in this game. You're running through everything as fast as possible. And for me, just try slowing down a bit. And she did. And her enjoyment of the game afterward?
I enjoy taking my time in games I like, and I really liked Arkham Knight, but I rushed through the gameplay, and that did influence the way I was playing Gotham Knights. I was, indeed, powering through this game and missing out on a lot of story and details that now make it a really enjoyable journey for me. The open world reacts differently to each of the characters, and the NPCs' comments evolve as we contribute to bring Gotham to a safer situation. I'm having a lot of fun stumbling upon the collectibles, treasure hunts, and motorbike races, and I also like how each playable character has different skills, playstyles, and a different story, different challenges to overcome in their own path. Their interactions among each other and with Alfred at the Belfry, plus the little nuggets of world building we get in the email inbox, really bring a lot of enjoyable and heartfelt moments to the gameplay. Each character also has unique cutscenes which reveal their personal struggles with their past, their own way of mourning Batman, and how they can be there for each other like a found family, which they are. I'm really enjoying how Alfred ends up being the true father figure each member of the Bat family sought in Batman. If I had kept powering through the gameplay, I would definitely have missed most of these details that are making this game so much fun for me.
So, maybe the answer isn't to judge the game based on the expectations you brought over from similar games you enjoyed long ago, and instead take the time, real time, to absorb what the game is actually trying to do. Savor the experience, not just consume it. Did you rush to the end and miss the beauty of the journey that you were on? You know what type of player you are, I don't. Maybe all that matters to you is getting to the end and then starting the next thing. Then most of what I have to say here is likely not gonna matter to you. But maybe for those who play games like I do, to experience them, not to consume them. Maybe you thought Gotham Knights seemed interesting before the reviews came in, and I hope I've given you more information to decide if the game is worth a second look to you. Gotham Knights truly surprised me, and I love it, and I'm going to keep playing it, probably past 100%, and I'm likely going to stop listening to game reviews completely. Instead, I'm going to trust that these professionals know what they're doing, and I'm going to trust my gut. That doesn't mean that every game that I play will be the best, and it doesn't mean that I like them all. But I promise you this, on my journeys, when I find something truly special, I'll be sure to share it with you here.